Imagine. Kyle Brandt in the NFL films, which means he was trying to go into the vault, trying to get the vintage game footage. But nay, we go 2026, we go present day, we go a couple games last night. Kyle, what highlights you want to lead the show with? It's totally up to you, your editorial decision.
Let's do it. It was on ESPN last night. Raiders, Texans, let's rock and roll. Shout out to NFL Films. Hard Knocks looks great this year. The Seahawks season is amazing. Mendoza! Here we go. CJ Stroud. Sure, why not? CJ dropping back to pass. He's going to Jared Wayne. Sure, why not? 12 yards. Stroud picks up the first down. And we're only going to get one series of Stroud. And it's not going to end in a touchdown pass because Woody Marks all day long. There's a snake in my boot. Touchdown. David Montgomery loves it. Remember, he's on the Texans now, too. So Stroud was out. He threw a few passes and scored a touchdown. But here we go. Mendoza. Down 7-0. Second and 15. Laser. Oh, man, he can huck that pigskin. That's Jalen Naylor, Mendoza's longest bar so far this preseason. Looking to go to Mike Washington Jr. and, oh, no, the perfect preseason is over. Wade Woodess from Clemson, a converted safety into linebacker, so he can go. I thought Mendoza was going to chase him down, and he gave the full effort. But, man, this was a pick six, guys. It was clean. They got him. And shout out. It's supposed to be all about the Mendoza. But Will loves it. Crosby comes over, heavily tattooed, even on the top of the hand, and says, "It's all right, buddy." So Mendoza, does he bounce back? Sure. Yeah. Well, down he goes. Texas defense is no joke. Backups, otherwise, I don't care. They play D there in Houston, Texas. All right, Clint Kubiak hasn't said that who's the starter going to be. We're going to hear from him after the game. Oh, come on. Help out the rookie. There's a drop. Tries to hit Malik Benson, drops the pass. Benson, 6th-rounder for Oregon. Can't help him out. All right, so 22-20 is the final score. If you care, which you don't. What really matters is F. Mendoza, 8 for 15, 86 yards, a big interception. And then a soundbite afterwards, pretty subdued by his standards. And then his head coach asked point blank, so, hey, week one, it's going to be Cousins, right? Go ahead.
I came away that there's a lot of more learning to do. And that although that maybe he had a lot of success at another level, that this level is a whole step further, and that the margins are so small, and that one tiny mistake can lead to catastrophe. So want to make sure that best serve my teammates and get better from these experiences.
I think there's plenty to clean up, plenty to get better at. Plenty that we can do better for him as coaches, plenty that he can learn from. But what great heart that we showed in the second half.
So it's safe to say Kirk will be your starting quarterback week one?
We got another week. We're playing. I don't want anyone to be comfortable in their job. That's how it should always be that way from all positions. So, we'll just keep going forward.
First-time head coach seasoned at the podium, though. He's like, we got another week of the preseason. I don't have to answer that question, and I certainly don't have to give you the answer. Those who looked comfortable in their jobs last night were Joe and Troy, Lisa and Laura on the sideline. That was a crew right there doing that game. Joe, I thought, Buck, set up that first drive for the Raiders perfectly. When Fernando's coming out, he's like, man, what a college career this guy had. He looked great. And then the first pass, laser. Second pass, not great. It was like rookie quarterbacking in a nutshell. What did you make of Fernando Mendoza, and if we have to pump the brakes now for all the hype that's surrounding him?
I don't think you pump the brakes. If anything, I'm grateful that I was able to see Fernando Mendoza respond to some adversity. You listen to him in all his press clippings. He's always had a smile on his face. He's always positive. He's always optimistic. And you kind of have this question with Fernando of like, okay, you're that way when things are good. What about when things go bad? How do you respond? And I was very impressed, guys, with how the young man responded. I don't think it was an accuracy issue. I think it was more so of him kind of underestimating the speed of the game. He mentioned in his post-game presser, he understands now that the margins are so small in this league, but so are the windows, right? And there was a miscommunication maybe a little bit with him and his running back of where the guy was going to be, and what a great play by that linebacker. But the way that he responded, sometimes young players, when they make big turnovers like that, because it wasn't just an interception, it was a pick six. And so that's kind of stacked on top of each other. They start to get a little shy. They start to get a little conservative. Not Fernando. Fernando went back the very next series, and the series following that, and was just throwing that thing as if nothing happened. And I think if you're Clint Kubiak, you're happy with the way that he responded. And that screams louder to me than the stats. Yeah, that's not the stat you want. There's no TD in there. There's an interception in there. But what stood out to me, Kyle, was how the young man responded, knowing that things have been so positive for him coming up to this point.
What I tell you guys yesterday, I sat here in the A block yesterday, and I'm like, just hear me out. Hear me out. It might be a good thing for the organization, for everybody involved, if Mendoza makes a few mistakes and looks human, because then it validates the mission statement of we're starting Kirk Cousins. Guys, it happened perfectly. He came out, he looked good, he looked controlled, he looked comfortable, and then he made a huge mistake. And I have to tell you, over the Raiders' history, there's been some big interceptions for that organization that have helped them greatly. Lester Hayes, Rod Martin, Charles Woodson. This was one of the best interceptions in Raiders history. Never mind the completions. The interception he threw was huge. And I have a feeling that Clint Kubiak was on the sideline, just this little perverse part of him saying, yes, yes, go, go. Look, right here. He pump fakes, and he's just like, yes, go, kid, go. And I don't know if you can see this. Kirk Cousins runs on the field and throws this guy's a block. He's out in front. We missed him, but Cousins is blocking for him so he can get to the end zone. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding about the first part. This is perfect. If Mendoza comes out on ESPN and throws for 2 touchdowns and goes 15 for 19, and he does the interview afterwards and he's smiling, it's like, we have an issue. We do. I mean it. And maybe even not Kubiak, but the media, the fans, it's difficult. Meanwhile, now it's over. It's done. C'est la vie. Adios, Mendoza. We'll see you October, November, next season. It's over. If you were hoping for some sort of crazy late coming surge, like when Carson Wentz forced the Eagles to trade Sam Bradford 8 days before the game so he could start, that ain't happening. Cousins didn't play a snap because he's the starter. He won't play a snap in the next season game because he's the starter. Mendoza might not either. I don't know. But the second that interception was run down the sideline, it was over, and that is a very good thing for the Raiders. It's no controversy, no problem, no commotion, no argument, no talking heads saying, hold on now. Nobody's saying that this morning. It will be Cousins. This is a beautiful moment, and I hope Mendoza has a long, great career, but it will not start week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders, and that is a good thing.
Another great thing that is this moment right here was when Max Crosby went over to the first overall pick and just hit him on the helmet and said, hey, this is football. You're going to be okay. And just see how Fernando kind of accepted that and said, all right, let's move on. Let's get to the next series and let's make this thing right. So I also thought that from a veteran standpoint, Max Crosby had a beautiful interview on the side with Laura, how he went over there and spoke to the Fernando Mendoza about moving on to the next play. I thought that was a great moment as well.
All is right in the world. Yesterday, KB made a proclamation in the A block, and then the Raiders delivered for him. What else do we got for KB? 49ers Chargers last night.
We got